back that move.
I think so. Yes, sure enough, he has, and he's opening up. Ooh, with the cowboy. Now it's kind of not really called the cowboy, but somehow it is for cowboys. So the whole idea is you're simply getting your dark square bishop to that really long diagonal. Now it has a big reputation rather over the internet, a lot of fans, and then sure enough, out comes the bishop. Now Magnus, his pawn in the center is under fire, so it does need to be protected, and sure enough, it's protected by the knight.
Yeah, and this opening is not as well known as some of the other ones where white stakes a claim in the center with his pawns. Here Hikaru is playing in hyper modern style. He's trying to get his bishop on the long diagonal, and now Magnus is thinking, what way should he continue?
Yes, and he actually challenges that control of the long dark diagonal there. You can see getting ready to put the bishop on that particular square, and Hikaru challenging in the center. Ultimately, you need to do this in chess. You need to strike with your pawns in the middle of the board because you need to grab space, and well, Hikaru not quite capturing back immediately and developing a knight instead, and sure enough, a bishop comes out to give a check.
The game is getting sharp, Ivanka. If now Magnus here who has given a check, if Hikaru blocks with his knight, now remember the pawn could not move earlier because the rook was hanging, but because the knight is here, the pawn could take, and then there could be some big pressure here. So already very sharp this game.
Incredibly sharp. I mean, white will be forced to play with the king out there in the open, might even have to take a wander, and this is the moment. Do you want to do that? Do you want to grab the material but be forced to defend, or instead are you going to be sacrificing a pawn for quick development? So I'm
Let's quickly head over to Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen. What happened after the check? And let's have a look at the moves.
It was very interesting. You said, well, we speculated that this knight block might not happen because of the craziness that ensues after pawn takes pawn.
Yeah.
But Hikaru was like, I ain't afraid of that. Bring it on. And I guess if this is mainstream theory, then that's exactly what Hikaru has prepared at home. So Magnus, not fancying that, decided to not capture the pawn and instead just focusing on development. Now Magnus really likes to bring all of his pieces into the party. That's like something that is his trademark. He doesn't feel comfortable if he has a one bad piece.
Right, and that's the reason why we see now that the position is kind of evening out, takes, and we have this on the board. Magnus might be wondering if there is any merit in coming back with the bishop again to pin the queen to the king, but the bishop would block it here.
That's true. But if you take a look at the roles of the bishop, I often play this game of equivalence. You're like, okay, which bishop is better? And white's bishop is actually bearing down, looking at some empty holes around the black king.
Right.
So it may be a situation that bishop will be incredibly powerful later on in the game. So perhaps the time is right for Magnus to actually offer up a trade of bishops. But we'll see. Black's king is relatively safe for the time being, and Hikaru does. pawns. And in the endgame, they actually become much better. But the best type of pawns are the passed pawns, the protected passed pawns.
Right. For now, Hikaru has lifted his rook up, and a passed pawn is something which helps you to make a queen. Right now, there's no pawn that's running down the board. Each pawn of white is blocked by black's pawn, and each pawn of black is blocked by white's pawn. So, Jovanka, this is the strategy that both Hikaru and Magnus are trying to get into this position. Where is the point of breakthrough? Where can we get in?
Yeah, it's really subtle, clever chess here. So you're going to see, Hikaru is trying to reroute his knight to great squares, and there, okay, he just sets up a beautiful pawn chain. All the pawns are connected, they have friends, and now it's just a question of just making sure that the rooks and the knight and the rook and the bishop are combining together. So I'm going to suspect that what's going to be happening from Hikaru's end is that he's going to slide the rook over one square to make sure that it is challenged. Okay, there we see Magnus. Can you see what's... Yeah,
He wants to push the pawn.
He wants to push the pawn even further. He wants to mobilize his rook.
I have a feeling that white is going to push the pawn up and not let that pawn move forward.
I suspect that something like that might happen. But if you do that, then you're not able to create anything on that side of the board.
Yeah.
So it is a very kind of committal decision there.
Definitely. And for now, Hikaru is thinking he does not do it. He brings his knight back and he's looking for his knight to reach here and then jump into these beautiful squares.
Yeah. What do knights like? They like to be on squares on the opponent's side of the board and protected by a pawn. That is the...
We could very well notice that both players, as you said, Jovanka, are not able to make any headway and they are moving back and forth. Maybe a draw incoming.
Do you see Hikaru tapping his fingers? Sometimes make eye contact with your opponent, tap your fingers, and they will understand that you're literally offering them a draw.
It's more like, okay, Magnus, I can't see a win for you. Why are we playing this? Something on those lines.
Exactly. And Hikaru understands that all he has to do is make sure that both of his pawns are protected, as long as he has the capability of protecting them. So it should be absolutely fine. The black king can't come into the position, the white king isn't moving far, and then it's just a question of shuffling.
Right, and if we bring up the overview, the 6 boards that we have right now, Jovanka, they have drawn.
Yeah.
They have drawn. So there we have a clear result on board 1.
Yeah, the result was never much in doubt. A very balanced game, very mindful, very zen. So let's move on to somewhere where, well, it's not so mindful.
Yeah, but